thank you. It's great to be here. It's the second time here. Thanks, John. So what I wanted to share with you was actually the details of a report we just put out for USPS Office of Inspector General. Last year, Dave Williams had asked us to do a series of workshops to look at potentially new ways to generate revenue for the Postal Service. So one of the reports we did was actually through the use of email. And this was the second in the series where we actually did a workshop. And we actually looked at an interesting area called international small business e-commerce. So I wanted to define what that is, and then I wanted to share with you some of the results of that report. Obviously, we're not going to go through the details. If people want a copy, I'll send it to you. So let's go to the next slide. Next. So this is actually, go up to the next slide. So if you zoom in on this, this was actually the report we put out. So I want to thank Sonu and also Tom Zawacki. But we called it potential sources of new revenue since we didn't want to hype anything, but it's really potential source of new revenue. I think the Postal Service will have to decide whether it can actually generate revenue. Next. I think there's a clicker here, right? Let me just use this so I don't have to bug you. And let me give you how Dave and I were talking about this back in '93. One of the first businesses I did when I was at MIT was actually to look at how the internet could help artists. I actually have a degree in art and design. A lot of my friends were artists. And if you remember when the internet came around, the idea was that it could actually break down barriers, right? It could break down barriers to gatekeepers. Most artisans typically had these agents or gatekeepers that they had to use to get out their work. So we built one of the first sites on the internet called Arts Online. You can't see much. I had to go back to the Wayback Machine. It actually says 1995. But we actually put up 5,000 artists online. Some of them actually did some amount of where people found them and they were actually able to close some sales. But we were way too early. I ended up writing this book called Arts and the Internet. And if you can read carefully, Glenn Urban, who was the dean of the Sloan School at the time, actually gave the cover quote because Glenn was also an artist.